Am I the jerk for not going to my dad's wedding with his affair partner? Back when I was 17, my life took a tough turn because my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer. Sadly, just 2 years after her diagnosis, she passed away. Those years were incredibly hard, and to make matters worse, my dad wasn't around much to support us. He was always buried in work or claimed he had to go on business trips, so my mom's care fell mostly to my aunts and grandma. Fast forward about 5 months after we said goodbye to my mom. My dad decided it was time to introduce me to his new girlfriend. I was beyond upset and couldn't hold back, ending up yelling at him. I was shocked by how quickly he seemed to move on. But then the bombshell dropped. They told me they had been in a relationship for 3 years. That meant while my mom was battling cancer, my dad was seeing someone else behind her back. All those business trips he said he was going on were actually trips to see his girlfriend. I felt so betrayed and angry that I packed up my stuff and left the house we shared. I decided right then and there that I couldn't speak to him anymore. Now, I'm 24 years old, and the only person from my family I still talk to is one of my aunts, who has always been there for me. A few days after I walked out on my dad, this same aunt gave me a call. She checked in on me and then dropped another bombshell. My dad was planning to marry his girlfriend. She suggested that maybe attending their wedding could help mend things between my dad and me. I was stunned. VJJ, why would she think I'd want to attend, knowing what I know? Unexpectedly, I heard my dad's voice over the phone. He had been listening to our conversation. I hung up immediately, feeling even more betrayed. I had specifically asked my aunt to keep my life private from my dad, and she had agreed. But then she texted me, calling me names for my reaction and saying my dad was heartbroken by my words. She even said I should have moved on by now. I didn't want to argue with her since she had been supportive in the past, so I decided to block her. Then wedding invitations started showing up at my place. My aunt was the only one who knew my address, which meant she shared it along with my phone number with other family members. Suddenly I was getting calls and texts from everyone on my dad's side of the family, trying to convince me to forgive him and come to the wedding. Some even insulted me for refusing. Then the woman my dad is marrying texted me, trying to justify their relationship by saying she was a friend of my mom's and knew about her cancer. She mentioned my dad was thinking of postponing the wedding, hoping I'd talk to him. But the truth is, I want nothing to do with my dad or his fiancée GCE, no matter how much they try to push it. Despite the pressure from my dad's family, telling me how much better it would be for me to make amends, I'm staying firm in my decision. It's clear now that my dad was never really going to be there for me in the way I needed. It's sad, but I've come to accept it. Now I'm left wondering, does sticking to my decision make me the jerk in this situation? Now for the top comments before reading the update. NTA 6512 says, not the jerk. Your dad was unfaithful to your mom during a time when she was very sick, which is a huge betrayal. It's understandable that you're upset and hurt by his actions. It's also completely reasonable that you've decided to take 2 big steps. 1, choosing not to talk to your dad anymore, and 2, deciding not to go to his wedding. These are your feelings and decisions, and you've shared them in a clear and calm way. On top of everything, your aunt broke your trust by sharing your contact information with others when you didn't want her to. That's not okay, and it's another reason you're feeling hurt and betrayed. Given everything that's happened, it makes sense that you're thinking about keeping your distance from not just your dad, but your entire family at this point. They haven't respected your feelings or your privacy, which makes it hard to maintain a good relationship with them. Leighton says, choosing not to talk to your dad and staying away from the wedding is actually a pretty mature way to handle the situation. It's a lot nicer than showing up at the wedding and waiting for that moment when they ask if anyone has any objections. Imagine standing up in front of everyone and explaining why you think their marriage shouldn't happen because of their past actions. That would be really tough and could cause a lot of drama. Hey, it's important to remember that there's no time limit on how long you're allowed to feel upset or hurt about something. Your feelings are totally valid, and it's up to you to decide how long you need to process those feelings. You have every right to feel the way you do for as long as it takes for you to work through those emotions. Testarossa 133 says, the objection thing hasn't been in any wedding I've been to in the last 50 years. Never ask a question you don't want the answer to. Not the jerk. Tell your father you are treating him like he treated your dying mother. Block everyone who tries to tell you how to feel. Move on, and don't look back. J. Leon, 829 says, "What happened here is way worse than anything the OP is doing by choosing to stay away. The dad didn't just lie and cheat. He basically left his wife to deal with her illness alone while he was off with someone else. Everyone has the freedom to make their own choices, but they also have to deal with the results of those choices. OP doesn't have to do anything more for their dad, especially considering he didn't show much care for their mom when she needed it the most. I'm dealing with cancer myself. It's something that can be treated, but not completely cured. The support and love from my husband are what help me get through each day and feel thankful for the life I have. The thought of not having that kind of support during such a tough time is heartbreaking. It's a small comfort to hope that she never found out about the cheating. It's a sad situation all around." Queen Legalis says, "Not the jerk. Consider blocking everyone involved, including your aunt. Think about changing your phone number too. If there's a way for you to move to a new place without letting them know where you're going, you might want to do that. It sounds like they might try to come and talk to you face-to-face next. It could also be a good idea to get some security cameras for your place, just in case someone tries to force their way in or cause trouble. Honestly, the way they've all acted is really not okay. Your dad and the person he's with now did something really hurtful, especially considering how close they were to your mom. Imagine asking his partner how she'd feel if she were in a similar situation, dealing with something as serious as cancer, and then being betrayed like that. But then again, it might be best not to even go there. Try not to start conversations with any of them. You don't have to feel bad about keeping your distance. You're just looking out for yourself, and that's totally the right thing to do. Remember, you've got a lot of people rooting for you and supporting your decision to stand up for yourself." OP responded, "Thanks a lot. Right now, I'm working on getting a new phone number and letting all my friends know about the change. I live in an apartment that's actually pretty safe. The only way someone can get inside is if I let them in, or if someone else in the building buzzes them through. Then they have to sign in with the security guard at the entrance. Plus, to use the elevator and get to my floor, you need a special key fob, which I always keep with me. I really hope I won't need to move out because of all this, but I'm keeping my mind open to the possibility, just in case things start to get worse." End of the comment. Now let's move to the mini updates that OP shared. "I sent a text to all 39 phone numbers I have for my family members, called her, and included in the text. I explained everything my dad did, and then I blocked all of those numbers. I'm not interested in hearing any of their responses." Now for the first update. First off, I want to give a huge shout out and thanks to everyone who took the time to comment on my original post, and to those who sent private messages. Your words and support really helped me feel solid about my choice not to go to my dad's wedding. I've been wanting to share this update with you for a bit, but my job has been keeping me super busy lately. So here's what went down. After I got bombarded with a ton of texts and phone calls from different members of my family, I decided to take a big step. I sent out a detailed message to every family member's phone number I had, laying out the whole story of what my dad did and explaining why I decided to cut off all contact with him. Right after sending those messages, I blocked all those numbers to avoid any backlash. I also changed my own phone number to a new one, but kept the old number active on a spare phone, just in case I needed to collect any evidence if they tried to bother me through unknown numbers. I was kind of expecting something to happen after that, but everything seemed quiet, which made me think maybe that was the end of it. But then, about a week later, something unexpected happened. My aunt's fiancé GC, who somehow knew exactly when I would be getting home from work, was waiting for me in my apartment's parking lot. I was pretty wary about talking to him at first, but he assured me he just wanted a conversation. He told me that the message I sent stirred up a lot of drama. Apparently, it made some of my cousins, who hadn't known the full story before, start asking tough questions to my dad and his girlfriend. They tried to brush it off or outright deny the accusations at first, but then someone confirmed everything I had said was true. This caused a huge fallout in the family, leading to heated arguments, and even some of my cousins deciding they didn't want to go to the wedding anymore. My dad was considering putting off the wedding to try and sort things out with me, but his girlfriend made it clear she would break up with him if he decided to delay their plans. On top of that, The news of what my dad and his girlfriend did started spreading among their circle of friends, who also used to be friends with my mom. This whole situation has really shaken things up way more than I expected. After I shared the truth about what my dad and his girlfriend were up to, a whole bunch of drama kicked off. Some of my relatives decided they didn't want to go to the wedding anymore after hearing about it. This made my dad's girlfriend super upset, and now she's saying that anyone who talks about the situation isn't welcome at the wedding anymore, and that even includes family members. She's really mad and thinks I stirred up all this trouble on purpose. When I heard she was blaming me, I just had to laugh. Despite all the mess, they're still planning to go ahead with the wedding. Then my aunt's fiancé GC decided to pay me a visit. He told me about conversations happening in the family about how it might look bad if I wasn't at the wedding. My aunts thought maybe they could try to smooth things over by talking to me. He didn't think it was a good idea, but my aunt called me anyway, and that's how my dad ended up overhearing our conversation. The fiancé GC said he came over because he wanted to get the full story from me. I was thankful he came to talk, but I also told him I've made up my mind to stop talking to my aunt. And because he's connected to her, I'd have to cut him off too. He was okay with that and wished me well before he left. I'm not going to sit here and say everything's fine because it's not. I miss having a mom so much, and going through all this has been really hard. Right now, I'm staying with my girlfriend, who's been doing her best to cheer me up. She's been coming up with funny and ridiculous ideas about how we could cause a bit of chaos at the wedding just to make me laugh. But on a more serious note, thanks to her support and some really thoughtful comments from people online, I'm thinking about starting therapy. I've come to realize I've got a lot of sadness and anger bottled up inside me. The thought of therapy is kind of scary, but I also feel like it could really help me deal with everything I'm feeling. So I just really want to say a massive thank you to everyone who's been supportive and offered kind words and advice. It's helped me more than you know. See you later. End of the update. Now let's move to the comments. Individual Encore Adore 9213 says, "Not the jerk. She has been cheering me up by coming up with absurd ways to ruin the wedding. I can't think of anything that has been more effective than your going public in the way that you did. Eventually things will calm down. You might consider reaching out to the family once they knew what had happened and defended your choice of not going to the wedding. They're the ones who sought out the truth and remained loyal to you." OK says, "You're curious about the different ways to really make a statement at the wedding. Something that would be unforgettable. Well, here's a pretty bold move. You could actually go to the wedding, and when there's that moment where they ask if anyone has any objections, you could stand up. Then you could talk about all the bad stuff that happened, all the secrets about the affair, to explain why this wedding shouldn't go ahead. It would definitely catch everyone's attention and make a very clear point." Farsighted 451 says, "Hopefully they're just having fun making up fantasy scenarios. OP should be a million miles from that wedding and just let it ruin itself." Impact Beneficial says, "It's pretty funny and kind of strange that she's trying to put the blame on you for all of this. I mean, come on, if she didn't want everyone knowing about her actions, maybe she shouldn't have gotten involved with a guy who was already married. It's really that straightforward. But it seems like some people just don't get it and live in their own little world, thinking they can do no wrong. Anyway, I really hope things turn out great for you and your girlfriend. You both deserve to have a wonderful life together away from all this drama." IOR Suggester Therapy 450 says, "Isn't it just the case? All the original poster did was share what really happened. If just talking about what someone did makes them look bad, well, that's their own fault. It's like when someone does something wrong and then gets mad at you for noticing. It's pretty common to see that families, especially the ones that aren't too great, really don't like it when someone points out the truth. It's like they're okay with what's going on as long as no one talks about it. But as soon as someone like the truth teller shines a light on those actions, they become the bad guy in the family's eyes." Pengy Girl 1633 says, "Not the jerk. Basically, they played a risky game and ended up facing the consequences. Your aunt put you in a situation where you couldn't really win no matter what you did, and that's not your fault at all. It's totally understandable that you're not feeling 100% okay. It sounds like your family hasn't been very supportive or kind to you, but it's really awesome that you have a wonderful, supportive girlfriend by your side. And it's great to hear that you're planning to start therapy. These steps are going to help you a lot. You're definitely going to make it through this tough time. After that, you can lift your chin up and live your life to the fullest. enjoying every moment. Last story. Because I decided we shouldn't spend Christmas with my husband's family, they've started ignoring my husband completely. I made the choice that our family, including me, my husband, and our 2 kids, a girl who is 5 and a boy who is 6, shouldn't spend Christmas with my husband's side of the family. Because of this decision, they've now completely stopped talking to my husband. My husband's sister has 2 boys, one is 10 and the other is 9. It seems like every single time we go over to visit them, my kids end up getting hurt in some way. They either come back with bumps and bruises or feeling really sad because they were picked on. This year, I stood my ground and told my husband that I just didn't want to go over there for Christmas. He became really upset by this. He's got a strong bond with his mom and his sisters, a bond that grew stronger after they lost his dad when he was only 10 years old. To make matters more complicated, my mother-in-law shows a lot of favoritism towards my sister-in-law's kids, giving them gifts that are way bigger and more expensive than what she gives to our kids. I used to try not to let it get to me too much when our kids were really little, because they didn't notice the difference. But now they're getting older, and they see that the gifts they get from their grandma are nowhere near as nice as what their cousins receive. My husband is worried that if we start skipping out on important family get-togethers like Christmas, it's going to cause problems in the family. But to be honest, I'm not too worried about that. I don't want my kids to grow up thinking of holiday times as moments when they feel unhappy and get picked on. I'm not willing to try to work things out with his family or make any kind of compromise. So I have to ask, does that make me the jerk here? Now for the top comments before reading the update. Peak Penguin says, if your husband is worried about losing his family, a key question arises. What steps has he taken to address the bullying his children are experiencing? It's important for both parents to advocate for their children's well-being and safety, especially in family settings where they should feel loved and protected. If his family's actions are hurting your children, it's crucial for him to speak up and work towards a solution that ensures your children are treated with kindness and respect. OP responded, discussions with his loser sister and loser mother about why 2 children are bullies. Admirable that he cares. I applaud him for trying to help his nephews, but not by using my children as guinea pigs. Blue Greenor, 1956 says, not the jerk, the gift imbalance is one thing. Being bullied is another. OP responded, I never cared about the gifts because his mother never liked me, but I noticed last Christmas that my son was sad. I don't want my children to be sad for any reason. The gift difference is like $20 to $200. Puzzled Pizza 393 responded, that's a huge difference. Good on you for stopping this. Kids will notice. Can't figure out how grandparents think this is appropriate behavior, hurting their own innocent grandchildren. OP responded, I asked once if they could just try to exchange gifts before we arrived, and then only have one gift for each child in front of my children so they don't notice the favoritism. But my loser mother-in-law started yelling and calling me a gold digger. Nobody involved has gold to dig. We are all hardworking people. Dayqueen says, not the jerk. I wouldn't go and take my children to the zoo before seeing other people again. Tell your husband that he is welcome to go by himself. You'll see him when he gets home. Those boys are going to get worse as they grow up. Save your children from them. OP responded, he literally said, maybe I could go by myself. It is an 8-hour drive. Now for the update. So let me dive straight into what's been going on because I've already talked a bit about my situation in a previous post and some comments. My husband decided he wanted to spend Christmas with his family despite everything. He called them up and let them know he was planning to come by himself this Christmas. While he was on the phone, I could hear his mom in the background yelling and saying that I was like the devil messing up their family traditions. But from what I could tell, she didn't actually tell him he shouldn't come. My husband then told me that our kids are too young to really get what's going on, so we could just have our own Christmas celebration when he gets back on the 27th. He set off on an 8-hour drive to see them yesterday, but when he got there, nobody was home. He started to worry and called them several times, but no one picked up. Panicking, he called me. I suggested he text his mom, saying he was about to call the police for a wellness check since nobody was answering. That got a quick response. His mom called him back to say they had decided to rent an apartment at a ski resort and had left earlier that day to go skiing for the holidays. He came back home early this morning and tried to start an argument with me, blaming me for not letting our kids be with their family for Christmas. I stopped him right there. I made it clear that I wasn't the one avoiding him, and that if he really wanted us to have a happy family life, this was his wake-up call. His family had clearly shown their true colors, demonstrating just how far they were willing to go to exclude and embarrass someone over a disagreement. This weekend turned out to be pretty great, actually. The kids were super excited to see their dad unexpectedly, and we ended up having a Christmas lunch with my best friend and her kids. Since I was planning for us to celebrate Christmas on the 27th, we weren't ready yet, so we decided to make pizza instead, which was a lot of fun. It seems like my in-laws are starting to realize that they might have taken things too far. They've been calling and texting my husband all evening, trying to get in touch. I even overheard his mom crying over the phone. I made it very clear to them that they are not welcome at our place, especially after they planned a trip without telling us, leading my husband to drive all the way to an empty house. I also made it super clear that I want nothing to do with them anymore. Jay, not for me or my kids. We're going to start our own Christmas traditions, ones that are just for our little family and don't include waiting until 2 days later to celebrate. I told my husband it's time to really think about what he wants, to decide how he wants to move forward with his life, and to figure out what's truly important to him. I'm just tired of having people who let us down in our lives. I'm ready to move on and focus on the people who make us happy. End of the post. Now for the comments. Full stack comments. Good for you. Make sure he sticks with whatever decision he makes. Have a Merry Christmas. Lady Pundit adds, they ignored their own son. It's almost funny how your mother-in-law can do whatever she wants to hurt you, but the moment your husband feels the sting, suddenly everyone makes a big deal out of it. He tries to blame you, which is unfair. It wasn't right for him to leave you and the kids during the holidays, but then he gets upset when he finds himself alone. Gotta love the holiday karma. Ravenwave points out, it seems like he doesn't see his wife and children as his real family. Exactly. You gave him a choice, and he clearly made it, but not in favor of you or the kids. The way he's been treated by his family and now getting ignored by them is just ridiculous. I doubt this drama has ended. It's probably just on pause until next year. Amara says, your husband really needs to figure out what's important before he ruins his family. I'm glad you're still managing to have a good Christmas, though. It looks like your mother-in-law is waiting for things to fall apart, assuming that's what's going to happen. She's probably expecting your husband to take the kids over to his parents' house next year. The fact that he hasn't said sorry to you speaks volumes, doesn't it? It's like people don't understand how harmful it is to be around such a self-centered family. Your husband has been dealing with this his whole life, and changing that mindset is going to be tough. It might even require therapy, and could take years. In the end, there's a real chance he might still side with his mom,